You talked about Sam. I always like to see kind of like how, like who your team is, how your team has evolved over time, right? And like who was, so maybe starting, you probably were just doing things by yourself initially, right? So then who was that first person that helped out, and then how does your team evolve over time? You know, you don't need to name names, but like I'm more interested in like who did you bring on first? Was it a lawyer? Was it a manager? And then how your team has evolved to this point.
I met my manager first, Sam, and that was through my photographer. So really, if I could say who was on my team first was my director, Chris Simmons. He started directing with me back in the Bay, and he let me shoot my verse video for a couple $100. I pulled up on him in my girlfriend car at a Starbucks in Fremont. It was like, please, I have this vision. I'm gonna make all these clothes. I got my auntie like making up all these outfits. I'm gonna put all these girls in ski masks. I'm just like on some Tumblr shit, man. I'm trying to be different, and he believed in it. So we shot the first shit, and when he moved to LA, I used to stay at his house. I was still scamming and shit, so I just like buy groceries, hit for some food. If I hit for an Airbnb or something, he comes, pull up, we party. And one day he introduced me to Sam, who owned the studio. I met Sam, and then I seen him as a manager, and he had all these things that he said he was going to do with an artist. 8-9 months later, I'm down bad looking for a way out the hood, trying to leave Oakland. And I go on his page and see his artist page, and they did everything that he said he was going to do. I told him I wanted to do this shit. And I only knew Chris, so I had the director. I was making my own cover art, drawing it all, making my own beats, getting just beats from other dudes. I found a producer in the Bay who now is super plugged in and got the whole nightlife and shit now as a DJ, Drew Banga. He produced my first song that had some traction money, and that's what I was working on, that sound, after Sam agreed to be my manager. When I moved out here, I took the bus out here with $20.
Damn.
So, cause I didn't want to scam no more. I knew if I ran one play, I'm back in it. Like my mind, it's working extremes only. It's on or off. I can't not fuck with it or wean off. I got to go cold turkey or nothing. So I'm in LA, cold turkey, broke, living in Sam's studio, plotting on shooting videos with Chris. I then need to go into a deal with Sam because we had like a 5-year plan that we was finna write down, and I kept going viral, so that turned to what we doing in this next 6 months type shit. And we needed paperwork, so I needed a lawyer. Found my lawyer, Dan Showman, shout out Danny Boy. And he led me to my business manager, Michael Leonard, and with Leonard Business Management. So from there, I was in LA, starting to move around, got my first apartment, moved out the studio. At this point, I'm looking for assistants. I maybe like had 20 assistants just to move me around. I need somebody with a car. I don't want to buy a car because I need to be on my phone. So I'm like, and I don't even want to drive. So I'm like, all right, I'm running through assistants and just firing them. As soon as the car go bad, I'm firing them. Nothing for me. I never wanted to do my laundry. I still ain't did my laundry a day in my life living in LA, going on 5 years. That's something I said I'm never doing. As soon as I get out the hood, I'm never doing my laundry. I don't give a fuck how that sound. I'm tired of that shit. I was broke in the laundry mats, trying to steal detergent from the niggas next to me. I don't like laundry. So at that point, I'm like still with the same people because I can't find good help. I'm looking for producers, linking up with people. Niggas is going in and out. I meet a producer named James Delgado. He came out to link with me. He had previously done some stuff with Sam, and James started coming around as an engineer, but he was really just a producer. We learned later, a couple years later, that the nigga scammed us. He scammed me. He never opened up Pro Tools in his life until he got to the studio that day to prove that he was an engineer. This nigga was just driving from where he was from, so it's like, you know, this is a long drive, and listening to YouTube tutorials on Pro Tools. So one of them tutorials, and it's crazy because I remember that night, Sam pulled me to the side, was like, "Hey, you like this nigga? Is he fast?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, he know all the hotkeys." 3 years later, when he told us that he didn't know shit, I'm like, "Bruh, what was you watching?" He was like, "Man, I just watched like how to do all the hotkeys."
Yo, I tell people, like, you know, obviously coming up, you're probably not gonna, unless you get lucky, you're not gonna be able to attract or afford the best person at that time for that role.
Yeah.
However, you have to get the person that's dedicated to eventually becoming the best person for that role.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. You know, a lot of people just want to be around when it comes to, like, especially management. You know, you may not have the best manager now, but is that person dedicated? Are they learning? Are they, you know, on YouTube? Are they networking? You right? Are they really dedicated to figuring this specific shit out, or do they just want to be around?
Man, your manager got to be on YouTube. If your manager not on YouTube, he's not manager.
Yeah, nah. The game's always changing. There's continuous education around these social media platforms, around new tools, new services. Just how the industry evolves is so important. I mean, I know Sam's on top of this shit. I've known Sam for a few years now, probably more than a few years. You know, he's one of the solid ones. He's one of the solid cats that I know in the industry. So I know that, you know, you got a good one in your corner.